Well, welcome, Jessica, to the Flower Podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, it's been a while since we've had a guest from Australia, so I always love to have our down under guests. you know, I've got to ask this question. This is not flower related whatsoever. If we refer to Australia as to the land down under, what are we?
Yeah, right. I have no idea. I can't answer that.
Anyway, just side note. So I've loved learning about the Flower Farm Collective. I said that right, right?
You did.
And everything that you're doing, and I want to dig into that today if we can. So and learn more about you and all things you're doing with flowers. So we got to start at the beginning. And how did you get into the flower world?
Yeah, sure. So flowers have been in my life have been in my life for about 25 years. So I originally had an events company, a rather large one in Sydney, and flowers were everywhere around me. And during that time, obviously, we were working with a lot of flower growers, a lot of agents, with installations and so on. So that's where it all began. And I've always absolutely loved flowers. And I think that my life took me in another direction. Obviously, I became a mummy, and we've got three beautiful boys. And I always wanted to come home to Newcastle, my hometown, and bring the boys up there. So I was doing a lot of events up in Newcastle and the Hunter Valley, and really prepping to move back home. But during that time, I could see that Newcastle was growing rapidly. And probably about 12 years ago, I said to a girlfriend, I'm going to bring the flower markets to Newcastle. And so I did. So we launched that in 2017, and that was really successful. Obviously, supplying to beautiful floral designers, event stylists, interior designers, and of course the retail side as well. And of course, weddings is a huge part of our life. So we still do a huge amount of weddings annually. And yeah, from there, I guess, the flower markets has grown really fast. We opened a cafe, a restaurant, a nursery, and just over 12 months ago, we launched the School of Floral Design, so Newcastle's first flower school. So that
Wow.
was always a huge passion for me, mentoring and sharing knowledge with students. And what was currently out there in the market was not teaching the right techniques to flower lovers. So we launched the school, as I said, 18 months, or just over 12 months ago, sorry. And it's been so successful. And it's a really hands-on flower course. If you're wanting to do that sort of career course, it's very sort of intense, 12 weeks, and no theory. It's just full-on hands-on, going straight into installations. I have the students going out on real weddings, and we visit flower farms, and we really teach that local, to be local and as sustainable as they can from the start as well. So that's a big passion of ours. And obviously COVID hit just over 2 years ago. We've all been affected, and I'm quite entrepreneurial. So I always wanted to open up an e-commerce side of the business. So one day we can work anywhere in the world and have it still running. But we launched the Flower Farm Collective, but this was not an overnight project. It was something that I was working on for quite some time. And it's a platform really to be able to connect our amazing Australian growers to our floral designers, stylists, etc. But not just that, it's creating a community and reconnecting our industry. Obviously, COVID has affected everyone individually, and seeing the stats of the floral designers disappear was heartbreaking, is heartbreaking, along with the growers as well. So this platform is something that is growing quite quickly, and we really promote kindness, we promote share knowledge. It's so important to share knowledge with each other, and it's really exciting seeing the next generation of growers pop up. It's amazing. So I'm super passionate about where we're going. We've got loads of plans for 22 and 23, and really being the voice for the Australian floral industry as well.
Wow. Well, I know there's a dynamic floral industry in Australia, and the blooms and the designs and the farm. I mean, it's just such such a unique place, I think,
Mm.
as far as the kinds of things that are grown and the styles of design. And I can't imagine. I mean, you just like listed a laundry list of all these things you're doing between the school and the market and all these other things that spun off of that. I I often wonder, you mentioned the sort of the effect of COVID as far as some of these businesses go. Um, it's really kind of, I don't know, I guess it kind of makes me sad to hear, because I know so many businesses have struggled here in the US too.
Mm.
But I think that also in Australia, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like when you guys shut down and locked down, I mean, it's way more, um, I don't know the right word. It's way more strict than it is here in the US.
Yeah.
Like it is strict here when we were shut down, but not as much as there.
Yeah.
And is that, do you think, really what contributed to a lot of this, where, people literally couldn't leave their homes to go, but
Yeah.
to a couple of places?
Yeah, I think the first round of COVID, there was a lot of money being thrown around. And I think that, you know, a lot of people were gifting a lot of flowers in particular. I mean, our business increased so much during that time, the first round. And, grower, everyone panicked, of course. No one would have thought that this would have ever happened to the world. And but the growers thrived, the floral designers thrived during that time, which was just amazing. People, there was so much more online ordering. You really
Right.
had to. I think I remember sitting in front of the television with my husband just going, please, just give us takeaway, that just for the cafe and things like that. But you had to re-strategize your business within 24 hours. Everything went online. Flowers went online, food went online. We delivered a lot of food boxes and things like that. And it was amazing how everyone supported each other and was all about small business. We made a point, my husband and I, on a weekly basis, to support at least 3 small businesses, whether or not we were getting takeaway or gift hampers or whatever it may be. But that was amazing. But I think the second round has been a lot different. The strongest have survived, and it's been absolutely heartbreaking for our industry. I have a lot of mates in Sydney, and seeing their businesses go under, they just simply can't survive anymore. And there wasn't that money being thrown around anymore. There wasn't, that weekly income from government supporting small business. And
Right.
yeah, people have families. So um, that was a big passion with the Flower Farm Collective, with ensuring we keep floral designers strong and successful, and ensuring that we try and keep as many people in business by, and I think too, those beautiful encouraging posts, and stick together, encourage, inspire, help one another, pick each other up. I think it's now more than ever. I mean, the world is the same, but we all need to support each other.
Yeah, and be deliberate in it, not just sort of by accident.
Absolutely.
Um, so okay, so let's dig into this, to the Flower Farm Collective.
Mm.
It's, you started this not what, a little over a year ago, or was it longer than
Yeah,
that?
that's right. Just over a year ago. I mean, we were planning for a good 2 years, but we actually launched it just over a year ago.
Okay. And so the mission of this organization is to do what?
The mission is to, I guess, our values are really strong. The honesty, loyalty, support the industry. But I think the main thing here is to ensure that we keep businesses alive and strong. We connect these floral designers to the growers. I know that a lot of flower growers have been supported by a lot of agents in the past, and have been, I
So
guess, too afraid. Yeah,
I'm gonna jump in. I apologize,
yeah,
but
yeah,
we don't. I know when we were talking earlier, I you used the word agents, and that's not a term that I have heard very often here in the U.S. So you might need to explain what that is.
yeah. So there are, I guess, the middleman that sits between the grower and the buyer. So a lot of growers will connect with agents, wholesalers, to be able
Okay.
to move their product. So I think too, yeah, I guess the main message here for us is to reconnect the industry and be the voice for the industry. There needs to be a lot of things. A big thing for us, obviously, this year is creating a market price guide. And I recently was on a podcast, and there was a few people that got the wrong idea with what we were doing with that. And there's currently a price guide that's here being dictated by agents and wholesalers. The pricing needs to be dictated by the growers. And there are so many aspects that need to be covered, from production, all of that behind. I mean, we're doing a lot of research to be able to get the right pricing, because all of these new growers are popping up, and no one knows how to price things, how many stems go into bunch, how they should be presented to the buyer, and so on. So us educating that side is going to be a big part of our business as well. So yeah, look, I think that there needs to be a guide out there, not just for the growers, but obviously all of those, the wholesalers, the markets, the floral designers. It needs to be a really consistent, strong circle with that.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I know that's always hard because it's, when you're interjecting this local product into this international marketplace, and you have flowers coming from other places in
Yeah,
the world that often dictate what the market value is, because it's either the
that's right.
auction in Holland or wherever.
Yes,
And so you have these kinds of things. And then here comes the local farmer, and it's kind of like, well, but it costs this, it costs X for me to produce this.
that's right.
So irrelevant of what the world has, I need to sell it for this. And at that point, it's so hard because you want to support that person,
Mm.
and you want to buy their flowers, but sometimes I think farmers may even just maybe don't grow the right flowers, because there's other flowers they could get the value for. And I think of
Yes.
something like here in the United States, I think of like solidago. Okay, so solidago is a weed here, and actually, I think it's a native to
Yeah.
North America, and it was hybridized in other countries, and then it's grown in other parts of the world and sold back to us, which I think is funny. But
Hmm.
the bottom line is it's easy to grow here. It grows naturally everywhere, but if you are trying to harvest that and sell it to a wholesaler, your cost of it, I mean, it's almost like it's not worth growing.
Yeah,
But
right.
I think um, but I know I'm going down a rabbit trail, so let me come back. But I feel like what you're doing in helping them understand that market, and then figure out, can they grow it and make money. I mean,
That's
that's,
exactly right.
yeah,
That's right. And I think too, we want growers to profit. We want
right.
them to create. I mean, obviously they're doing something they really love, and they're growing. You want to be able to make money from this as well. So our job is to ensure that happens and that they can make a living out of doing something that they love so much as well. So I think the whole education process too, educating the consumer, for me being in this industry for such a long time and meeting growers on many different aspects, I've always admired and respected growers and how like they're the hardest working people I know.
Yeah.
And I think the education or educating the consumer on the importance of that, of them planting a seed, nurturing, harvesting, and getting this incredible end product to the user. It's not just a matter of just cutting them out and it's just voila, this product. There's so much hard work that goes into creating these beautiful blooms. We don't want growers to be screwed over with pricing. We want
Right.
them to be able to say, hey, that's $15 a bunch, go get that, and be confident in your product. But they need that guidance as well.
Sure.
Where I think that market price guide will come in handy over the next few years.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. So, do most of the flower farmers that you work with, or maybe just in general, I'm sure, like here in the U.S., you have small to quite large.
Yeah.
Are they diversifying their income streams? Like selling wholesale, retail, maybe markets, things like that? Or do they try to put
Well,
all of them in the one basket of like selling to wholesalers, or how does that work?
and that's something that we do a lot of webinars. We launched webinars last year, and just the first one was so well received. We were educating them on how you price and how they should look when you're presenting to a grower, a buyer, and how many stems, all of that. It was a basic entry for these next generation of growers. But our role at the Flower Farm Collective is to encourage, there's so many revenue aspects now for growers, not just your wholesale. There's obviously the retail side, but, no waste, and encouraging, hey, press those flowers, dry
Right.
those ones out. I think that is something that is super important now. For the growers, because they have no idea about that side of the business. And yes, most of these growers are one-man bands. You've got your micro growers and you've got your next level, and then of course obviously you've got your big commercial growers as well. But I think there's so many other revenue streams for these growers to be able to really get some extra dollars in.
Well, I'm sure that's a popular topic. It doesn't matter if you're talking to florists or for farmers. Pricing is always important.
Yeah.
What do you feel like is one of the key sticking points that people forget when they figure out their pricing as a farmer?
I think the production side of things, and it's all like how you're packing your flowers. You've got to pop. Are you sleeving them? Things like that. Like there's all these things that are extra. Where are they going? How are they being traveled? Are you having to purchase boxes for them to go into? Are you printing on those boxes? And another thing, I guess, too, the different seasons. Some of these growers have got big glass houses, and obviously in winter the electricity side and ensuring that climate is right, clearly that the pricing would go up during that time because of those things that are added on. So I think, look, I think for the micro growers, I think that that's probably one of the things, the production side, packaging, is being forgotten.
Yeah, I bet. Well, I know here a lot of times, and I think it's a worldwide thing now, where more florists, hopefully, are trying to source local product, which I think is the one thing I think is so great about what you're doing is connecting these two sides again, and really not having a middle person anymore, right?
That's right.
It's just, they can join your network and then they can kind of get all connected. which is great. How are you educating florists on the value of using local
Mm.
product?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And I think too, they have to keep in mind that the smaller flower growers and the locals, they're not dealing with, markets that are potentially getting, 2,000, 3,000 people coming in and purchasing. They're working off their farms as well, right? So I think
Right.
that, asking them to put their prices down if they're buying, 50 bunches or more and things like that. I mean, that's up to the grower to negotiate. That's their side of things. But I think that they have to realize that, I was actually one of my amazing growers who I work with on a weekly basis is, they're harvesting the morning of and getting this to me in the afternoon and things like that. They're just, I think, working with local growers, there's none of that, delivery and taking 24 hours, 48 hours to get to you. They're harvesting mostly, the night before, the morning of. I just think, these are families. These are a husband and wife team and working their guts out. I think that, there needs to be, and look, I know that a lot of floral designers respect flower growers. I know, the people that I work with absolutely will dote on a flower grower. They won't bark on their prices. They'll like, that's the price, that's it, for one bunch
Right.
or for 20 bunches. I think it just comes down to respect on both sides as well, because again, that circle, the growers need the floral designers need the growers. It's about working together and being loyal to those growers. I think, pay that grower up front because you'll just get treated like a queen, I think, as well. I think that, again, most of these growers are one man bands or husband and wife, or it's a very small team. So that cash flow to them is super important.
Sure. And it always makes me sad too when when I'm having these conversations with wedding florists that are starting out and they're always so pressed and they don't necessarily have the confidence to really charge what they should charge. And they sometimes, as a result, maybe price under where the market is for a
Mm,
wedding. Well, then you turn to the farmer or you turn to the wholesale, whoever that is, and you want them, often we try to talk to them about their side of it with the price. And it's kind of like, well, especially now, I don't know what it's like there, but transportation costs here
oh,
have
enormous.
really jacked up flower prices is sort of this hidden monster that's reared its head lately. And so especially going into Valentine's. And anyway, and I feel like sometimes it's really hard because it's like if we're going to be in this industry, we need to make sure we're charging what we should charge for a bouquet, what we should
Know your
charge for a
worth.
wedding. Know your
Yep.
worth.
Yes,
And
definitely.
and sometimes I feel like when people maybe have self-doubt or imposter syndrome, often they don't charge what they should charge because they think their worth
Mm,
is not they're not at that level yet. But the thing
yeah,
about it is if you start there, often it is hard to get you can always lower prices, right?
that's
It's
right.
a
That's
much more
right.
difficult battle to raise prices.
Yes, definitely.
And so it's just, I don't know. I just feel like we often forget that when we turn to our farmer and we say, hey, we need some help on pricing and things like that, it's hard because that is their livelihood. Um,
Absolutely.
and I don't know. I just feel like, we've got to find a way to work together more. And I'm really excited that you're kind of doing that because you're educating people on both sides.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's too, you're right, that know your worth. And it's really not the responsibility of a grower. If you haven't priced correctly, they shouldn't suffer. They shouldn't be bringing down their prices. I think, again, um, And that's something that we're working on this year, actually, is actually chatting more to up and coming floral designers. That's something I teach in my school, is how you should price correctly. That's a big part of going out into the flower world. Don't underquote, because you'll end up hating that job. You'll end up losing your passion for what you love doing as well. So absolutely, pricing.
Yeah, pricing. I again, going back, when you're like when you're in the school, or you're teaching other students or whoever is, um, what are I mean, obviously you have freshness, right, with local product.
Mm.
I'm trying to think of what other benefits would motivate a floral designer to want to use local product.
Well, I think the whole keeping it local right now, and I think
From a
COVID
marketing
has
standpoint?
definitely. I
Okay.
think from COVID, I think now more than ever, supporting local first. Keeping it for us, keeping it in Australia, and supporting these growers that desperately need us. And yeah, of course, you're going to get that freshness and the beautiful quality as well. You you're going to pay a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I always say that, to ensure a client comes back, have the
Right.
most beautiful florals, and the longevity. If you're getting something harvested the night before or the morning of, that's going to last beautifully with the client. So they're always going to come back.
Yeah, that's a great point. I really like that. I know here we have, and I think it's international, so I'm pretty sure you probably have it there, the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers, the
Right.
ASCFG. Do a lot of the farmers there grow specialty things, or are they trying to grow the staples?
Oh wow. Well, I recently visited an amazing farmer who I've supported, and they've supported us for quite some time as well. Husband and wife team, and they're growing dahlias, but they're growing so many other things: cosmos, cineos, what else? Delphinium, status, so many things. And I think too, like, I see a lot of the growers not just concentrating on one line anymore. It's even too, we had the webinar at the end of last year, and of course we talked about, you and I, the shortage of flowers. People are forgetting foliages,
Oh, right.
amazing foliages to grow, and they're lucrative as well. I mean, anything from smoke bush to after dark, little jam magnolia, eucalyptus. Obviously, it's an investment, but people are forgetting the foliages, and this is going to be a big, I think, a big trend over the next few years as well. So I think you'll see that grow more.
Sure. When flower shops and designers, um, well, I guess there's two categories I'm thinking of. One is like the flower shop, the florist
Yeah.
that does daily work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to plan, well, and maybe people don't plan anymore. When you have recipes from wire services or things like that, and you want to incorporate this local product, you want to support your, in this case, Australian flower farmers,
Mm.
and you're trying to reach out. And I know one of the big objections I hear sometimes from different designers is like they don't have enough, or they don't like have enough of the one flower maybe,
Mm-hmm.
or how do I plan because of that? How
Yeah.
does the collective kind of work to help that?
Yeah, that's by having, I think for us, is a mixture of micro growers, that next level, that medium sized grower, and obviously the commercial growers as well. Because you're right, a lot of the floral designer shops have that versatility with not just your local. They're obviously receiving the imports and that as well, because that's a big part of their business.
Sure.
So I think it's, from our role as a collective side, is having a mixture of those growers. And that's something, I mean, we have, I guess, a target of where we see ourselves at the end of this year going into 2023 as well. But yeah, we want to be able to be working with that mixture of the growers.
Right. So in Australia, are you just working with farmers in your part of the country, or is it all over Australia?
It's all over Australia. So the Flower Farm Collective is Australia wide.
Oh,
Yeah. So we're
wow.
dealing with, flower growers in Tasmania, Western Australia, South Australia, Melbourne, ACT, New South Wales. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We've actually had quite a number of growers reach out to us from NZ as well, which is really lovely. So obviously we are Australia wide with us, but that doesn't stop us connecting with those amazing growers and sharing knowledge. Same with the US. We have quite a number of people following us on Instagram that are from the US. And I know a lot of our Aussie growers are huge fans of Erin from Floret. You and I
Yeah.
spoke about her. And what I love about her is that she just is so encouraging to everyone. She shares her knowledge. She wants the world to grow everything that she's growing. So I think she's quite an inspiration to everyone when it comes to what she's doing in the marketplace.
Yeah, I agree. She definitely is. Now, I know when we spoke, you mentioned social media and marketing, and that was one of the
Mm.
aspects that you're trying to bring together to kind of help build this bridge in this community.
Yes.
How are you juggling that? Because that's a
Yeah.
big ball there.
Yes, definitely. So this year we're really focused on that marketing side. And most of our growers, again, those one-man bands, they don't have time to market their product. They don't have time to take phenomenal shots and build the content on their socials. So even creating a website for them, can raise issues for growers. So that's where we will come in from the marketing side of things. If they need help with that, then we will have packages that we'll be able to connect them with the right people as well.
So is that what you do? Is you connect people with it? You don't. I wasn't quite sure how you do that. So,
Yeah.
oh, okay, all
So
right,
we'll have an in-house marketing team that will be working on the socials, creating websites, and helping them with content that will be in-house. But yeah, look, any other major sides of things, we would be connecting them with professionals here as well.
right. So over the years, I've spoken with several flower farmers, and I'm curious. A lot of times, I've heard it so many times they don't have time for that marketing side of the equation, which I'm glad to hear you do that.
Mm.
And I am really curious, how is that embraced, and how do you explain to them the importance of that side of it? Because especially in today's world, it's more important than ever.
Oh, absolutely. Social media would have to be, I think, one of the most useful tools to any business now. It's the way of the world, and it's going to be for God knows how long down the track. So for us, it's such a strong part of the business, and can be, obviously it has its advantages and disadvantages, but it can turn your business around, I think, and it can really put you out there from a business perspective, and selling as well. It's very, very powerful for your business. And I think, there is obviously, you have to stay on top of Instagram and Facebook, Instagram in particular. But if we didn't have that, we wouldn't be known in the marketplace as well. So I think that our role at the Flower Farm Collective is to really stress the importance of how social media can change your brand in today.
Do you get a lot of pushback from people?
Um, I think that it's just, look, I think the new generation of growers are a little bit more tech savvy. From the old school growers, change is hard. and we get that. And it's just, it really does come down to time for them, you know. I mean, I look at my mum and dad on socials, that's just a big no-no. That just doesn't happen. They still laugh at me being on it 24/7. And, you know, obviously it comes with the sacrifices. I am working on a number of brands on my phone. I'm on it all the
Right.
time. And it is the first thing you see in the morning. It's the last thing I see before I go to bed. But if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have a brand as well. So, you know, I think you have to have discipline. And I don't. My children are always like, Mom, come on, you're on the phone. And
I've
but
heard
yeah, look,
that.
totally. It's definitely such, people really need to take it seriously. If you want a strong brand in the marketplace, you have to, it's not even negotiable. You have to have an Instagram and
Yeah,
Facebook account.
and I don't know how you juggle all the different things you're doing because it's hard enough to keep one brand straight, much less dealing with all those other things you're doing as well. Well, you know,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I want to ask this question, and it just came to me. I know a couple of years ago, I was having a conversation with an Australian exporter, and they were talking about the and crisis is dramatic, but
Mm.
it's a real issue where a lot of times there are flower farmers that have been in the business producing beautiful flowers for years. I mean, for generations. And
Mm.
this new generation, a lot of them don't want to have a part of it. And it's kind of like these farms that are almost like closing or selling or don't have anybody to take that baton to carry it forward
Mm.
because people either don't see the value in it or whatever. And I think that's so sad.
I
Have
know.
you seen that happen, or has that been part of what you
D-
do?
Definitely. And I think it's, again, that education process, education part of for us to be able to let them know the importance of it, because, you know, it can turn your business around. Just posting, you know, even if it's, you know, posting once a day. I mean, look, I post, and we're probably similar. I'm posting God knows how many times a day. My life is very visual, especially with not just the markets, but the collective. And people want to be inspired. You know, I mean, there's so many great tools that you can use, and you can see who your major followers are and who your most engaged followers are. It's all that side, that the back end that people don't understand. But having those stats and showing that to a business, it can be pretty life-changing as
Yeah.
well. You know, but I think, you know, my advice to any small business is invest in social media, and it's not expensive. It's not. I don't think you know, having an account and spending that time on it on a weekly basis, it doesn't need to be, you know, taking over your life. But I think that invest in it, because it's definitely a positive thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a lot of other programs out there that can help you schedule things or
Absolutely.
you can save drafts in your Instagram account and then that way like maybe you spend, you know, a day
A
or two
day. Yeah.
creating things and then you just have this folder and you just like pop them out and post
That's
them and
it.
yeah, and it's just getting organized, I think, is hard. But I also know with algorithms changing and different other aspects of social media, it is hard to keep up with certain
Oh,
things.
definitely. You've got to be
Um,
on top of it all the time.
yeah, you really do. But I know that in the end, I mean, you don't have a cheaper way to really get the word out there. It's
I
such
know.
a reasonably priced way. And yes, maybe the price is in time that you need to put the time in. But I think if you do that, I think you get the returns, especially
Definitely.
as part of something like what you do. Because on your Instagram account for the collective, I'm sure you're promoting both sides of your membership. You know,
Definitely. The floral designers and the growers.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I think that's great. One of the things I was interested in is, it's just my own. I'm displaying my ignorance here. So I know Australia being in the southern hemisphere, obviously you're summer now for our winter.
Mm.
But do a lot of growers grow year round? I know here, like we'll have some that grow, oh, maybe 9 out of 12 months, but I didn't know if how that worked there.
Yeah, some do. And yeah, some, I guess some don't. They have a little bit of a break time as well. But yeah, um, the growers that we're dealing with, and not all year round as well. I think it's important to have some sort of a break with your family as well, because, again, being out on these farms, which I absolutely love, probably one of the most uh, best parts of my job is interviewing and going visiting the farmers, and getting those real raw stories from them as well. But they're on the farm all day for from 5 a.m. in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, some of them. So I think having that time off is probably a little break for the family as
Sure.
well. Yeah.
I mean, obviously dahlias and probably garden roses. I mean, zinnias,
Mm.
sunflowers. What other
Yeah.
things are popular other than those tried and true things we all hear about all the time? I'm kind of curious, are popular among the growers that
Mm.
you represent?
Look, depending on where they are and climate, obviously peonies is
Oh
one
yeah,
of the is huge. And I recently went and visited a peony farm. It was spectacular. But I think, look, hydrangeas is a big one.
Hmm.
It's, yeah, beautiful. Delphinium is super popular at the moment. Hellebore. There's so many. God, I mean, we could talk forever, couldn't we?
I'm
With
sure.
oh my goodness.
I was just curious if there's anything different that we don't ever hear about. Being, hey, it's Australia, so I
Well, have
thought.
you well, the bearded iris, have you seen them at the
Oh my
moment?
God. Yeah, I love them.
Oh
And I know
wow.
you sent me some photographs and I'm just like, oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yeah, that was a recent farm that we visited, and she's growing. She's phenomenal. But her bearded iris and the colors, like that mustard and lilac together, is just insane. Yeah, just incredible. Really, really beautiful. So that's probably, I can see, one of the big trends this year, bearded iris.
Yeah, I know. I saw that kind of increasing in numbers. And I just wish the season was longer on it. And I know,
Yeah.
and now there's varieties that are early and mid and late kind of bloomers and spreads. And there's even repeat bloomers on some of them. But anyway, well, that's really interesting. I was just curious with everything. Um, you're hearing so much from both sides of it, but being an entrepreneur yourself, I was just curious if there was a challenge you've had to overcome in your business, because everyone has them, and with COVID and everything going on, it may even be pre-COVID. I don't know. Just curious, if you don't
Yeah.
mind sharing something.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Um, I think, look, I'm extremely positive person. And my mantra is there's always a solution. So I haven't had any, I mean, of course, COVID was a big thing, and, re-strategizing your business. But I think and I'm going to be honest about this, and we
Sure.
did touch on this slightly a few days ago when we had a chat, but I don't know why I still get shocked about this, but I think it's important to talk about, is the tall poppy and the bulliness, I guess, the keyboard warriors. I think it's there are so many people out there that would love to see you fail. And I do get shocked about this, because I think
Mm.
it's women. And I think that there's nothing more that makes me happy in seeing another person shine and succeed. I think it's so
Absolutely.
important. I think that is probably the biggest challenge for so many people. Like for me, I'm a pretty tough person, and they're not seeing that the more you do this, the more I get motivated, and the more I'm just going to keep going and dig my heels in and strive for what we want to achieve. But I think other people are not so strong, and it can get to people. I think that a message around the world that should be out there is really think before you type something. Be a leader, don't be a follower. I think that's super important. Don't make a judgment based on what someone else is saying. Go and pick up that phone and call that person yourself, and you make that judgment. Just those messages are so important, because you're seeing this all around the world, like this, the whole bulliness, and there's nothing more fearful for me as a mother, having your children come home and this, you fail to see the signs, and then something terrible happens.
Right.
Everyone really needs to pull together and be kind. You don't know what that person is going through. Even if someone has a thing to say to you, try and go back with kindness, because who knows what they're going through on the other side. But I think that's something that I'm super passionate about, and I think we should all think before we type something.
Absolutely. I know sometimes I feel like people have this false this false confidence that allows them to be so bold and rude with typing certain things, and it's like, okay, there is a human being on the other side reading that.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's your intention to be that way, but I'm like, but why? I mean, what is, I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah.
I think too, the perception of social media out there as well, people having this amazing life, and it's at the end of the day, we're all humans, and I think just be kind, say something nice, it's for free. And I think especially after the last 2 years everyone has had, I think it's it's just important to join together and encourage each other.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree. I totally agree. And I wish, I don't know. I've heard about some other things that have happened among, retail florists and things like that. And I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like we all benefit from being positive and gracious and focusing on our own businesses.
Absolutely.
And not worrying about necessarily whether we agree or disagree. That's their decision to make. That's, we don't have the right to control them and decide for them or bully them, as you put it. And that's,
yeah,
I appreciate you sharing that. I know too, sometimes it's so hard. The sacrifices that sometimes a lot of farmers make. I know you and I were talking about that one example that I think is, and people forget this, and goes back to the pricing thing. And I think back to the story you were sharing with me, and I don't know if you want to elaborate it or not, but having to choose between equipment or a family vacation,
right?
And it's like, family vacations aren't automatic. So, it's not necessarily like everyone is, not everyone's in a position to do that. I know there are years, in fact, even still, that we haven't, but yet people are making these hard choices. And especially as flower farmers, I think there's that aspect of it. And then it's the, can I leave my farm aspect of it? Because who knows what's going to happen. I don't know if you have any other things like that maybe you can think of.
It's and with that conversation that we did have, I think with us, when we interview our growers and beautiful floral designers as well, we always ask them to just be real and be raw. Don't sugarcoat it, because I know running a business is not easy. It's not all the glitzy and glamorous, or you get to play in a field of flowers. No, you have hands, you have endless sleepless nights, and there are so many sacrifices, definitely. And I think that, yeah, chatting with that farmer, and yeah, the choice was to buy a tractor or to take the kids away on a holiday. We've all been in situations like that. And, I think that that goes with not just the growers, but with any business as well. We're all making sacrifices in order to keep our businesses alive as well. Yeah.
Well, especially with COVID, I feel like we've all found ourselves making choices we'd rather not make, right?
Yeah. So
Um,
true.
but it's kind of like, all right, well, um, and then sometimes you find you're back against the wall and you don't have a choice. But I am excited though, um, that one of the things I think I love about how you're approaching it is that you share these stories and it allows us to connect with these people
Mm.
and understand it's not just a STEM, it's this human investment
So true.
that is behind it. And I think in a way I feel like that's one of the many reasons why flowers have such an impact on our own energy, our own um uh positivity, or our attitudes, just because we can appreciate the effort that's put into that bloom. I mean, the flower itself may be spectacular, but also knowing the people who grow it
Yeah.
adds so much more to it.
The story
Um,
behind it, definitely.
yeah, well, and I think that's, we were talking earlier about what are some of the benefits. And from a marketing, I mean, this kind of ties everything in together. We're going to go full circle here now.
Yeah.
Everybody fasten your seatbelts. So when you're talking about, when you're talking about flower farmers and connecting this community with flower shops, I mean, and both the flower shop wants to be able to market their flowers as local, and that story can just flow from the very seed planted in the ground all the way to the shop, and
Yeah.
everyone can really embrace it. So it ends up being, it sounds like a gimmick in a way, like it's a marketing gimmick, but it's not.
No, it's not. And you're right, because it's something, actually, there's a really good, what you just, a good example of what we're doing this year, just at market. Every floral that we have at market will actually have where it's come from, who that farmer is. And I think too, like, people love to know that that's been grown locally. It's Australian as well. We often have people coming into markets and going, okay, cool, what's Australian this week? What's local? Where's it being grown? So it's nice to kind of see that people are still, or wanting to know if it's local at the moment as well.
I know I've even seen in some places where, like, if do you divide it up by area or by flower or by farm in your market?
Yep. Sorry, say that again.
So in your market, how do you design your retail market
Mm.
for your customers? Do you do it by like the type of flower, or do you do it by the farm, or do you do it how do you I guess display that?
Yeah, well, we work with a number of growers as well. So it's really what's been grown seasonally as well. And I mean, not even what's on trend, because, being a market, there's so many different tastes, and you have to be versatile with what you have. At market, everyone has different styles as well. But we work with a number of growers that will give us that as well, which is nice.
Sure. Do you in the market, because I know you do the weddings and you do events and
Yeah.
you do so many different
Mhm.
things. Is it primarily designed pieces you sell, or is it like bunches of flowers, or
So
both?
at the market, yeah, both actually. So the market will have those beautiful market bunches that they can just pick up. They've just straight from the farm, or they can order custom pieces, which are beautiful floral pieces that can be, designed for their homes, whatever it may be. We do a lot of custom. We do a lot of beautiful wall arrangements. Weddings is a huge part of what we do. And of course, the world of Pinterest for brides now, it's just like, oh my God, it's very visual for girls. But we do a lot of personalized designs for our weddings. So we work with their individual needs and ensure that their personality, both them and their fiance's personalities, in their wedding as well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I feel like there are so many different opportunities, and I feel like you're right there in the middle of all of it, which I think is kind of cool. So Jess, having the school, having the collective, having your market that we were just talking about, I'm sure you have some help. You've got to have help. You can't do it all.
Not everything.
Yeah, I know. So, how do you tackle all of that? I mean, do you just have people working for you that have been there a while, have been there from the beginning, or other people that love flowers, or how do you get all this done?
Wow, I have such a great team. I have a great husband. My husband runs a part of the business, obviously, with the flower markets and the cafe restaurant. I have an amazing colleague who is with me for the Flower Farm Collective. Michelle, which you'll see on our feed and often hear from her. We do lots of visits to farms together, but I couldn't do it without these people. And obviously I have our beautiful floral designers that work with us for our weddings. Beck is with us full time as well, who works in the flower markets. But yeah, look, I mean, you can't do it without a phenomenal team. And I'm so, so grateful, even after everything that's happened over the last 2 years, we've been able to keep all of our team.
That's
they
awesome.
all, it's so nice. And it just, I think, when you have great staff, you treat them well, you do everything to keep them. And I think it's so important. Life's so short. You spend the majority of your time at work. You want to enjoy it. You want your staff to come in and, and love their time here as well. So yeah,
Right.
I couldn't do it without a great team. I'm definitely not taking all the glory, that's for sure.
Well, I think it's incredible, and I hope that we can help spread the word about all the different local flower farmers in Australia. I just a shout out to everybody down there that I know follows the Flower Podcast. We appreciate you. It's always good to help connect with more people there, and of course, we hope to inspire more people here to do some of the great entrepreneurial things you've done and tackled. And I just appreciate you being on the Flower Podcast. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, and thanks for having me. We hope to bring you down here for the Flower Industry Conference. I think you'd be a great part of that. We're planning that for 23, so stay tuned.
All right. Well, thank you. And we'll be sure to talk about that more once that starts to come together more. So anyway, thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.